Hello, and welcome to Normality. This is a show that the Twisted Thicket is going to be hosting on ATS. This is our first episode, and we're going to keep it kind of simple for this one. And it's just basically me talking. I don't even really have a script. I have a few points that I'm going to touch on here. First, ATS. With ATS, we first came here 4 years ago. Basically, at the beginning, it was just me. I started posting in the paranormal forum because friends of mine had told me I should. And from there, I went on to make the Scarecrow report, which was, in my mind at the time, I was trying to make kind of a paranormal composite podcast for the forum, because at the time, years ago, no one was really doing anything for podcasting, let alone paranormal podcasts. And from there I got into a lot more media and working with video and stuff like that, and here we are today. So the Normality report or show, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, it's basically a look into the world that we live in, from my perspective, let's say. And we'll see where it goes from there. I'm not doing anything crazy for this episode, just kind of an introductory. But communication, one of the biggest parts of our lives these days. Every day, hundreds of thousands of people are thinking of how to communicate with you. And being the person who receives all that communication, it can be hard to understand it, figure out what's going on, who's trying to fool you, who's trying to help you, everything like that. And I think that's one of the most important things of today, is that we have massive amounts of communication happening on large scales thanks to the internet. And that's making it a lot harder for people to be fooled, let's say. I'm not having any specific point to make in that statement, but this is one thing we really have to be careful of and take a look at in our lives, is how we are affected by this communication. So let's take a look now. Let's go back to the early days of mass communication. The telephone was introduced, the television was introduced, and you got to understand who necessarily has control of such communication and how they get there. Every newspaper, website, TV show, news show, they all need funding of some sorts. With amateur journalism, let's say, and amateur shows like this one, you have a higher chance of it being a real perspective of the person as opposed to a perspective of a conglomerate, a group of people who have an interest in mind. And that's where a lot of our media, especially on the mainstream television shows, cartoons for kids, all sorts of things are coming from these days, of massive amounts of study, let's say, upon one aspect, like, okay, what are the kids into today? You know, like, it's ridiculous. You look at the commercials these days, and a lot of them, they're going for shocks value, strangeness, and meanwhile you look 20 years ago and it was about family togetherness and wholesomeness. It's like, you know, and I'm not talking to you and me, per se, the people who would be watching this show. I'm talking about the general person. You know, not the them or the norms or anything like that, but the people who aren't necessarily looking for who's trying to dupe them, or what does this mean, what's the angle on this media, you know, is this propaganda and stuff like that. A lot of people don't try to find discomfort within their lives. They try to find comfort because we're taught to be like that. And that's another big part of communication, is teaching. And well, that's how we get here. That's how we speak. That's how we learn, is through other people. schools. Schools they seem to be set up in the sense of being part of the society, in that they teach us to become part of that society. Not against it, not aside from it, but to go along with it. You know, you learn to be a doctor or a lawyer and stuff like that. And the free thinking, well, the most people who I have met who largely think on their own agenda, with their own ideas and stuff like that, necessarily didn't go through high school, didn't finish. And a lot of that has to do with programming. A lot of our society is based around, well, capitalism, and the way it works is the parents go to work, they make the money, pay the bills, and they come home and they deal with their kids. The kids are in school all day learning how to be part of the society, and then they turn around and say, well, it's the parents' fault. A lot of it is our society's fault. TV, media, communication. And that's why the internet is so important right now, is that it's giving us the tools to educate ourselves properly. At any rate, I'm going to leave that at a close, and hopefully we'll see you later in episode 2. Thank you very much. This is Toraylin the Scarecrow, signing off.